But go ahead, Ilsa.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, my name is Ilse Bolaños. I'm a Mexican lawyer. I work in Mexico City. I actually studied in London for my LLM. What else? My practice is emphasized in M&A transactions, but I sometimes also do financing. And I work at Santa Marina Esteta in, like I said, Mexico City's office.
Great, welcome, Ilsa. I am Hannah with, you've probably received emails from me. I am the Manager of Communications and Network Development with World Law Group, so welcome. This is the Marketing and BD Professionals Forum. So I don't know if you work in some sort of capacity with Santa Marina with the Marketing and BD. I know that we've had a few, Gabby, I think, was the last person that we had attending our session who left a couple of years ago, who also had an LLM, I think from the States. But Alyssa, and then we'll just kind of go around quickly and then get into the agenda.
Yeah, I'm Alyssa. It's nice to meet you. I'm also from World Law Group. I'm pretty new to my company as well, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator. It's great to meet you.
Alyssa, you've been totally, I'll go next, sure. I was just gonna give Alyssa some props. Like, you've been killing it on social media. I'm loving it. I'm loving your posts. I'm loving everything about it. It's really, really great. And it is active and engaging. And I'm really impressed. So thank you for making us look really good.
Credit is also deserved to Tori for all our images and Hannah for editing all my stuff to make sure that I'm on the right path. So, but thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
We threw her right in there, Lindsay. We just threw her in.
You got to do it. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm Lindsay Everett, and I'm the head of marketing at Goodman's LLP, which is one of two Canadian World Law Group firms. Davies is another, which, and normally we have our friend from Davies, but I'm not sure. Is he joining us today?
We normally have Johan from Davies. I don't know if I haven't received any emails from him, so I'm not sure if he's out on holiday or just really busy.
I've scared him away. I've been our head of marketing for 15 years at the firm, and for most of that time I have been incredibly involved with the World Law Group and with our key contact partners, and ensuring that the gospel of the World Law Group is shared throughout our firm. We're a full service business law firm with about 30-ish or so different practices and industries. So lots of opportunities to get involved within the World Law Group practice groups, and lots of opportunities for learning and sharing. So it's always great. It's always really great to be a part of this group as well, because Goodman's is a one office firm. So it is really helpful when we have these opportunities to share and care and learn from others, because I don't have a lot of that in Canada per se.
Excellent. Dawn?
Hi there, my name's Dawn. I work at Gowling WLG, based in the UK. I'm based in Birmingham, and we do have an office in London as well. I'm the Senior Corporate Communications Manager, and I'm kind of the World Law Group rep for BD and for marketing. Probably been active for the last couple of years, and the same, I'm sure, of other members of this group. It's just really good to kind of share best practice, and I learn loads and learn that I'm not doing everything wrong and I'm not doing everything right, but it's always a learning experience as well. So no, it's a really good group, so welcome.
Thanks, Dawn. Annemieke?
Hi, I'm Annemieke van Valk. I am based in Cape Town, South Africa. I work for ENS Africa. We have also been members, actually, I don't know how many years we've been members, but we have offices all over Africa. So we are the Africa reps for the WLG network. So if any of our relationship firms across the world ever have any work in Africa, we help sort it out on the ground here. Yeah, and just really appreciate and love this group, because it is just staying connected with what's happening outside of your continent and what's happening in the wider world is just, I find, exceptionally beneficial.
Thanks, Anika. Andrew?
Hello, my name is Andrew Novero. I work at Payet County Federal Abogados in Lima. and I am part of the marketing and business development team here at the firm, primarily focused on international relations and directory submissions and anything related to the experience. So welcome, Ilse. Very nice to meet you. Hopefully you continue joining our meetings.
Emily, good to see you again, Emily.
Good morning. I'm glad I was able to join this morning. Sometimes it conflicts with kid drop off in the morning. So that being the summer, I'm able to join. So I'm Emily Bodick. I am with Lock Lord. I'm actually based out of our Dallas office, but we are the, I guess, Northeast, mainly Massachusetts World Law Group firm. I work closely with Jonathan Young and Jeff Jefferson on all of our World Law Group efforts. I'm Associate Director of Business Development, and I mainly work with our litigation practice groups, which is actually a practice group that does not, historically has not used World Law Group as much. So we've been trying to get the word out amongst our litigators about our network over the last few years. We actually became part of World Law Group through a merger with Edwards Wildman, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. So I was familiar with other law firm networks, but not World Law Group. So I've definitely learned a lot from this group over the last few years. So glad to be here today.
Thanks, Emily. And we've got someone from Philippi on today. And I should have asked before, and I see most of you have done it, have renamed yourself to include your name and your firm name. Perfect. Valentina.
Everyone, I'm Valentina from PPU. We're based in Colombia, Chile, and Peru. I'm part of the business development area and also focus on international relationships. And we are glad to be here and to join and share some ideas about marketing and business.
Great, thanks, Valentina. And I think I see Lisa. Are you still on the line, Lisa? I'm not sure if you're able to chat. I know sometimes you're driving into the office when we have these calls. You might just be in listen. Lisa is with our firm in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, Miller and Martin. Okay, so the next item that I had on the agenda that I wanted to get sort of a discussion going, we've done a couple of webinars this year, a couple with trade. We did just last week or the week before, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we did an ESG webinar focusing on the E and ESG. And we had, Alyssa, how many people did we have signed up for that?
Oh, it was like
a lot.
180 or something up there.
So we had around 180 people sign up for that. And I think we ended up with maybe 50 that attended, and that included the speakers. And so I know that we chatted about webinars the last time around, but was wondering if anybody had any thoughts or ideas, or if they're struggling with the same issues that we are, where even if we get those numbers for people to sign up, we end up with really low actual attendance rates. And I'm wondering if anyone else is having that issue, if you guys have figured out sort of some magic formula, if webinars just maybe need to be done in a different way or partnered with something. You know, I think if people are going back to these hybrid work models, or fully back to the office, people have experience, they're taking every chance they can to get in front of a computer to chat with people. Does anyone have any thoughts on that, or any ideas what their firm is doing to, you know, increase attendance? Do we just need to get 500 people signed up?
Well, for us, so over the last few months, we've done a couple of substantive programs, but for the most part, it's been, you know, on mental health or International Women's Day. So there was more of a topic and more of a draw, I think, in terms of what we were presenting to the universe. What I will say is what we've been trying to do is not be so caught up on who's actually attending the live session of it and putting our efforts into doing a really good job of packaging it after the fact, sharing it amongst all of our channels, but also continuing to just hammer people with it, whether it's, you know, a couple of months ago, we did an ESG session. So now every time there's a Goodman's update written, we put that in like as the link as well, like, oh, and you know, a month ago we did this, whatever. So we just look for any way we can continue to share the content. And I mean, we've never looked at it like that before. It was always, you know, how many people are in the room, but for us now, it's like, okay, it's not just about that day, it's what we can leverage out of that content over the next, you know, 4 to 6 months. So we've kind of changed the way we
and I think Alyssa's been doing a good job on social media of sort of coming back to some of those. For me, it's a challenge with the lawyers. I make them put a lot of effort into these, right? Like we'll have, you know, 5 or 6 meetings before we actually do the webinar. And so I want to make sure that, you know, any of our speakers, whether it's a lawyer or whether it's one of our marketing pros, feels like they're getting out what they put in, so to speak. And I think making sure we get mileage after the fact. Are you guys doing any articles post webinar?
No.
So we have been doing it. And another thing that we've been doing, and again, to your point, is, you know, if they're already writing the content, it just allows them to take that same content, either their notes or the PowerPoint slides, and repurpose that into an article that then we can post to our website and JD Supra and, you know, social channels and all that. Another thing that we've done both with ESG and with some of our energy practice areas, they've done like a series. So they're shorter, they're only like 30 minutes, but we package it all together as a series. And when we send the initial invitation out, people can register for one, they can register for all of them. And then of course there's subsequent follow-up reminders and invitations. And to Lindsay's point, when those additional events go out for, you know, the second series, we reference back the materials from the first event. That way, if they're not, it's not like you have to listen to one in order to join the next one, but at least if they have a reference to go back and listen to something that maybe they had missed. So that's been somewhat successful because they're shorter, but then we also send it out at one time. And then there's a lot of touch points afterwards to just keep in front of them, both the content, but also just our firm name and our attorneys.
Yeah, I like that. I like the shorter sessions.
And I like that, Emily, like it sounds like a campaign, you know, with, so there's a bit more thinking. It's so easy for the partners to come up with like, oh, I want to speak on this because it's important to me. But actually, how do you take all their thinking and get them to think a bit more long-term and multiple touch points, which is always the challenge with partners, with lawyers.
I have a great idea. Let's do it right now. You know, let's start doing this one webinar, this one thing. I mean, that's pretty common in law firms, I think.
And with the shorter content too, I mean, to your point, if there's something that's timely and it's a hot topic, but maybe you don't have an hour to fill on it, at least you can get that expertise and that knowledge out in a shorter nugget of information. And then you don't have to try to like partner up with another practice group or another attorney to kind of fill that hour when maybe it's not necessary to cover an hour on something. I think sometimes we're so used to like, it has to be an hour. And I know some of that's for CLE credits and stuff, but kind of getting away from that and just sending out little nuggets of content when you have it, but packaging up, like you said, like a campaign to keep your firm name and your attorneys present.
Yeah, the one. Also, sorry, Emily, you keep sparking thoughts in my mind. One thing that we've done that's actually worked really nicely on that same nugget idea is we have less so with webinars, but we've got our juniors doing little sound bites for social media. You know, they're far more comfortable in front of the camera. It gives them an opportunity to profile themselves. And there's far more engagement from them to do that. So we get them to preface and put out on their own social media channels, on the work social media channels, these like really informal videos, which I think are really personable and nice. Don't know if it drives any extra views. And one other thing that we are doing, Hannah, because we also seen this, there must be webinar fatigue. You know, everyone signs up and then on the day it's like, I'm tired, I've got too much work to do. So the one thing that we are trying to do a bit more, and it's quite tricky, is really create it with the audience in mind. So start with like, who are you sending it to? Because often you're just sending it to the same list the whole time, but instead really trying to say, okay, where's the gap of information and how can we create it to fill that gap? Because otherwise I just think we just keep spamming people and the content isn't actually relevant to them.
Can I ask a quick question in terms of the juniors filming? Do they just film it on their camera? Do they film it on Zoom? What medium do you use?
I think they just do it in a boardroom on their cameras.
Oh, okay.
I'll look for one on our LinkedIn and then I'll send it to you, and you can get an idea. You can see they've like scripted it. We've had also not one where they filmed, where they've just podcasted. You know, like, we are going to be at the South African tax summit, you know, this person is going to be speaking, what an interesting time because the budget has just come out, and it's really cutely done. You know, they wrote their little script themselves. That was very cool.
Alyssa, do you know how we did for the young lawyers program that we're doing this summer beyond words, we did little sound bites that we shared in our communications and at the summit. Alyssa, do you know how we did those? Was that just on Zoom?
Yeah, I believe Tori recorded them on Zoom and then combined the video and edited it together. That's my understanding.
We've done it both ways. I think a lot of people just use their phone. I mean, most people are comfortable now with just using their phones. But we've done it via Zoom as well. I think when we've done it Zoom, it's been more of like a dialogue. So we've had like two people talking back and forth, which of course you really couldn't do with a phone unless you're sitting in the same room. But if it's just someone, you know, hey, I just wrote this article, or I'm going to be at this conference, just kind of a little teaser, a video teaser like that to post. We've just done it with our iPhones.
Thanks.
I like the little sound bites idea. Does anybody have anything else to add to?
I do, actually, Hannah. In our experience, we've been really analyzing the data from all of the webinars. And so our team looks at the registration rates and the attendance rates. And what we found is that, you know, for local market webinars with a topic of interest, there are certain practice areas that generate a lot more attendance. This is really our labor areas and our competition areas. For other themes, what we have been trying to do in the last couple of months is to start doing international webinars where we gather other firms from other jurisdictions in order to provide a roundtable discussion to find a greater audience that could be impacted by very general themes like ESG. We're working on a cryptocurrency webinar right now. We find greater success in that. But we do find when it comes to registrations for these large webinars, there's a lot of interest, people sign up, but on the day of maybe 30, 40% attendance rate. And so we really try to focus on sending the mass mailing, but then also targeting specific clients or a specific audience with personalized emails from the partners. And we have found some greater success in that, especially if it's a topic that we want to present for a particularly key market that we want to enter or continue leading in that particular market.
Great. Any other thoughts before we move on to the next agenda item?
I also just echo what Lindsay said, is that actually in our feedback reports, we wait in a couple of weeks and then we get in the Lexology, the Mondac, the YouTube, you know, we put in those stats in because it does feel really disappointing on the day. And I think people are like, oh no, no one watched it. And it's actually like, no, people are still engaging with the content. So it's trying to keep them motivated as well.
Yeah, and I think, part of that is really setting the expectations for those lawyers or professionals who are going to speak on that day that, here are the rates that we get, right? We might have 200 people signed up. We may end up with only 50, but here's how we are maximizing the content, before, during, and after. Are you guys doing anything to engage with the audience on the webinars, aside from, asking them to have Q&A in the chat? Or, we do our webinars a little bit differently. We used to use the webinar platform, and then we just got rid of the webinar platform altogether, and we use the meeting platform so that anyone can sort of raise their hand at the end or chime in on the discussion if they wish to do so. Are you guys doing anything special to engage with attendees during the actual webinar itself?
We sometimes use Slido and ask questions, and then people use their mobile phones and that comes through, and that's been quite good because at least you're giving some people things to do as well.
What is it called, Dawn?
It's called Slido, SILO. Slide and
Okay.
DO, sorry. Yeah, Slido. I can send you a link, and basically you get everybody to log on the software onto their phones. You pose a question, give people a code for that webinar, and then you can ask them questions through the webinar which come up on their phone, and then they answer it. So it's all anonymous, but you can kind of gauge people's interest. And also we've used it to kind of guide which direction, sort of halfway through the webinar, do we go this way or do we go that way? We ask people, and we can kind of guide it to what people actually do want to hear about.
We'll have to look into that, Alyssa.
We've done something that was really successful. I don't know if we executed it as well as we could, but we did poll questions on social media before, in the lead up, especially to our budget speech. So, do you think that the budget is going to increase, decrease, or stay the same? Do you think we should increase personal tax rates or not? So unfortunately, I don't think we wove the answers into a really nice story, but our engagement on social media was huge. And then we just often do polls on the day, and those actually work quite well.
These are all really great ideas. So thank you, everybody. I do want to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Atlanta conference. So our next conference for the key contact partners is in Atlanta at the end of October. And one of the sessions we're thinking about doing, which came up with one of our members, actually our business development committee chair, earlier in a conversation with him, is sort of doing some sort of best practices roundtable discussion. We haven't done one of these in a while at a conference where our lawyers come and talk about things that they do in their firms to promote cross-selling or focus on business development. In one of the things that his firm does, they actually do a couple of things that I think are kind of neat. They do, excuse me, they do, I think they're half-hour webinars that they do on a weekly basis on a different topic. Could be an area of the firm that wants to, that is promoting itself, or a new area where they come talk about their practice and everybody attends. Schedule permitting, the marketing folks, the junior lawyers, everybody gets an opportunity to sort of meet that department or learn about an issue that they're currently dealing with a client. And the other thing that they do that I thought was neat, they have, when they have a big client matter that comes in, they'll have a meeting where anybody again in the firm is invited to this meeting. They talk about this matter and the client and where the opportunities for additional business might be based on, client needs that they see. And, whether that's come to led to anything yet or not, they don't know. But I thought those were two pretty easy ideas that we could share with everyone else at this conference. And I'm wondering if you guys have anything similar that you're doing to sort of promote the work that's coming into your firm and the opportunities for others within the firm to maybe get work as well. Is anybody doing anything interesting, or any of their specific groups doing anything interesting? We've got nothing. The other thing we are doing in Atlanta that we have not done in person, I think since Cave Town, Anamika, so it's been a few years, we're doing the speed networking, which we always get really good feedback on. And so the plan would be that I'll pair everyone up like I typically do, and I'll send the list of pairings to the lawyers as well as to their marketing the contacts, so that you guys can work with them on who they'll be meeting with. You know, Koos from Anamika's firm from ENS Africa, he does a really, really great job at these conferences, and I'm sure that he works with you and others in the firm to identify who he's going to meet with at the conference, what he's going to talk about. I mean, when he was in Portugal last month, he booked a conference room at PLMJ, and he just had a revolving door of all of the World Law Group folks that he had scheduled meetings with that would come and meet with him for 20 or 30 minutes. So he does a really great job preparing for these conferences, and it's something that you know, you may consider your lawyers to really maximize their, you know, attendance at these, not just the content that we create for them and that we provide working opportunities that are on the agenda, but pushing those opportunities to meet one-on-one with others, you know, once you get that directory list.
Hannah, have you, sorry if I'm out of touch here, but have you guys contemplated any sort of virtual component to Atlanta yet?
Thank God Ashley's not on the phone. She probably been in the meeting now. You know, I think it's something that we considered, and I think sort of the consensus has been that the conferences are their opportunity to be in person. You know, whether we do one session, I don't know if that's something we'll end up doing, but I think that's sort of been the consensus that these are in-person opportunities. We do offer a lot of virtual opportunities, you know, especially given COVID, that at the moment it's not on the plan. And I don't believe it will be added for Atlanta, but definitely something we can revisit for future conferences. And while we're on the topic, I know I sent some of you individual emails, you know, pre-COVID, I think we had initially, I can't remember if we had initially planned to do it in Lisbon or Atlanta, but one of the conferences we had planned on doing a marketing and BD pros track, where you guys would attend and have, you know, a couple of sessions just for this group, and then other sessions where you guys might be panelists for the entire delegation, or topics that we would have would also be applicable to you. I did some outreach, to a handful of you regarding the potential to do that in Atlanta, and I think the consensus was no, but in the future, yes. So that is something that I would like to revisit for next year. You know, we have the Dubai conference, I think, on the schedule for March. I'd have to look at the exact dates for that. But is that something that you guys would be interested in, and, you know, possibly able to attend if we did go down that road?
Well, I want to chat to this one because, yeah, I'm quite keen to come to Dubai, for the reason being that Altamimi is one of our main referral firms in the WLG network, and I've built up quite a lot of my own personal relationships with a lot of the Altamimi individuals. So it would be great to be closer to them, as well as, you know, to see you, Hannah, in person again, and the whole team, and just to reconnect. And additionally, the fact that actually the flights to Dubai are very reasonably priced. So it's not tricky from where I am to get there. It's, you know, I can justify that. I think I can easily justify that cost.
And I already did talk to Koos about you, and he said he thinks that's a wonderful idea.
going off to London with them. I was just chatting to Dawn about it. So yeah, but yeah, hopefully, but it's still, they still don't want to pay for travel. They're very funny about it and all of that. So very tricky.
When do you guys do your budgeting for 2023? Is it toward year end for like November, December time? Like when are you guys having to put in your budgets for travel?
I saw towards the end of the year. Wow. Our year end in February.
We
And
don't
I
have
think,
travel budgets. Sorry, I was just saying we don't have travel budgets, but I think when you were saying about a separate program, so that if we came along, we could go to the actual main conference, but again, that's side stream. I think for myself, and I don't know if it's the same for others, if I can kind of say, yes, I can do the main conference, then we've got this kind of side stream as well. I think that argument makes it a lot stronger. Definitely. And again, I think we talked about, I can remember the conversation we had a couple of years ago because I got very excited and then the pandemic hit. But again, weaving in some of our expertise into some of the main sessions through the conference, even if it's two of us doing a kind of double header and that kind of thing, to offer training or run something with the main conference. I think that would be really useful and helpful when we're trying to make the case for us to come along.
This is, and I do this. Oh, great. I was just going to have you chime in, Beth.
I was going to ask a question because we've had various versions of this in the past. We have had some legitimate tracks where we invited marketing and BD pros from all over the world to come, and we got, I don't know, half a dozen to a dozen that would attend. And as you suggest, Dawn, we would have them participate in the regular conference, in some cases panelists, in some cases moderators, really just kind of making it mutually beneficial, having the marketing and BD pros there. But we've also tried in the past to say, when we're in Europe, just reach out maybe to the European ones, because maybe people are more likely to approve travel that isn't as far and therefore might not be as expensive. Of course, then we may not have the same numbers of people. So I was just curious how y'all felt about that. If it matters, if it was, we really want this to be all marketing and BD pros coming for a specific event, or as we move around, we have outreach to those who are would be considered local. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? And Beth, I think, and I don't want to speak out of line if this is not right, but I think when we were looking to do this in 2020, before COVID hit, we had offered a discounted rate for the marketing professionals. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? And that's something I think we would probably look at again.
Yeah, we're definitely conscious of the cost. As you mentioned, you don't have a huge budget or you don't have a budget at all. So whatever we can do to help promote the attendance, Anamika would be aware, but in the last few years also, when the host firm or when a firm is hosting one of these events, we now give a free registration to the local marketing and BD pro to try to encourage, at a minimum, the engagement of the host firm's professionals so they can get to know the organization and the people better while we're there.
Mm-hmm. And I know at the last two, Anamika, at the last two that I attended anyway, I did not go to Vietnam, but Anamika was very present and engaged when we were in Cape Town in 2019. And Daniela from PLMJ was very present and engaged. She moderated. She was a panelist for a session. One of our panelists ended up not being able to speak, and so she stepped in as the moderator for that session. And everybody there knew who she was, and she, took advantage of the conference being in Lisbon with the lawyers that were present. Anyone have anything to jump in about there? Beth and Alyssa and I will circle back with Ashley for looking at the 2023 conference in Dubai. I'm not sure what the fall 2023 looks like just yet, but it sounds like it's something that we should, move forward with in some capacity.
One observation from my side, Hannah, is we had the Africa Mining Indaba recently, and a lot of the international firms came to Cape Town. Sure, and they are on the BD charm offensive. Private chefs, big houses by the beach, like breakfast, lunches, and dinners. They are operating. BD is driving their every move, and I feel like there's so much we need to do to just stay relevant. And if we want to get the bigger clients in, we need to be more BD savvy and more hungry. And obviously, I'm very passionate about BD, but it's like I totally agree that having if you have this BD request and channel, it just helps raise the profile of how important the function is. And I think looking at the hard times we're going to go into now, I think BD is ever more important, and I really think firms need to be made aware of how the world is moving forward in this regard.
I think that would be a JD Supra spotlight article, Alyssa, really leveraging the BD talent within your firm. How do you do that? And how do you do that on a global scale? Any other thoughts?
Sorry, I was just going to say clients' expectations, how are they changing? And then how are we changing to deliver to these clients?
Absolutely. Which leads me to our next point on the agenda, talking about client expectations. We are launching our ESG as a client service group next week. Well, we've launched it, but we have our kickoff meeting on the 29th at 9 Eastern. And I relate that to client expectations because clients are, jurisdictions and are, starting to have laws and rules for businesses to be to practice responsible business, but clients are demanding it, consumers, investors starting to demand it. So we are officially launching this ESG as a client service group with our kickoff meeting next week. We will have an email, if it hasn't already gone out this morning, Alyssa, I know I sent some changes, that will be going out to all of our practice groups. We also have posted that in the Fortnight Focus, and we'll have another reminder in this week's. So if you have any lawyers in your firm that are working with clients in any ESG capacity, I mean, really it touches all of the various different areas from technology to real estate to litigation. That is a group for them. And also if you work with your lawyers in that area, you're welcome to join that group as well. I think our meeting, we had over 30 registered last week. I haven't looked at the list today, but we'll probably do small group discussions so that people have an opportunity to introduce themselves and talk about what their area of focus is. Right now we have one leader. Have done some outreach for a couple of others, but Bruno from PLMJ will work with me on running that meeting next week. And then come together at the end of the meeting to have an opportunity to talk about initiatives and what we'd like to see out of the group. But I think that will be a really active group. I mean, ESG is sort of the hot item right now, right? And then the other group that we will be launching in the coming months is a real estate group. I'd like to get this ESG group sort of off the ground and going, but the other group that we will be launching by September will be the real estate group. And I did host a lunch table in Lisbon with all of the delegates who practice in real estate in some capacity, real estate construction, real estate investment trust. where we talked about that group. So we do have, I think, a core group of regular, anyway, conference attendees who are interested and ready to go. But if that's something in your, that you have lawyers in your firm, just shoot me a note and let me know, and we'll start getting work done for that group as well. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts about or comments on the group they want to chime in?
A couple quick questions. First, I can't even believe there hasn't been a real estate group before. Like that.
Beth, was there one years ago?
Well, it's funny you ask, because yesterday one of my projects that's been put off, and I get to it when I can, is going through old newsletters, and I'm pulling information out because I'm constantly going back and sourcing them. Yeah. So I figure it's more efficient if I go through each one time and kind of pull out the information. And so there was definitely chatter about real estate groups going all the way back to 1990. So I think there has been at periods of time, but sometimes it can just be maybe not the right leadership, or we go without leader for a time and things just kind of wane. We've had numerous groups, banking and finance, tax being some of them, which are very traditional practice areas with tons of business that over the years have come and go, just for various reasons, that other thriving now. Yeah. So. And I think, pre me joining World Law Group 5.5 years ago, there wasn't somebody really dedicated to the group. I mean, that's where I spent the majority of my time, the practice groups. And, in the last 2-3 years, especially with COVID, we have really sort of infiltrated the network, where it's not just the 130 or 150 key contact partners and, a handful of marketing and business development professionals that we talk to every day. We've now really developed core practice groups. Like these groups, they all know each other now because they're getting on Zoom calls, and they've started emailing each other, on the email list, which will now be discussion boards. I'm not 100% sure where we are with that yet, but that's become sort of a key tool for members work to engage and share business with one another, are these practice groups. And so as we've gotten a handle on the ones that we have, it makes sense to do this real estate group. I've had a number of people ask me about it. We do have, I think we had, I don't know, maybe 8 of our delegates, 8 of the, 85 or 90 delegates who practice in the area, that were at the lunch discussion. So yes, it is surprising that we haven't had one until now. But I expect that group to be a pretty active group with a lot going on.
We have a new real estate head of our group here at Goodman's, so this is going to be exciting news for him.
Excellent.
Looking for lots of opportunities to make lots of new friends, so this is great.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple of reminders, and then I can just open it up if anybody has anything to chime in about. WLG Impact Month is happening right now. It's the month of June. I have not done mine yet for WLG, but I plan to do that over the next few days. But how's that going for everyone? I know that been posting I think daily on social media, almost daily, right? As firms are reporting into us. So definitely follow social media, engage, and regardless of impact or anything else, but just engage with our posts and member firm posts. Feel free to reshare anything that we've shared where we've tagged you or any of your lawyers on social media.
Hannah, this is Emily.
And then,
how do you want that content? So we did a firm-wide day of service on Monday in connection with Juneteenth. So every office did their own service project. So I just saw on LinkedIn, they just did a post this morning that was more of just like a collage of pictures from, you know, whatever our different offices participated in. So how, and I know that Jeff had said that we would obviously send you some stuff, but I just didn't know what it is that you need.
Yeah, I mean, I would send, you know, sort of what your firm is doing. Obviously, we will tag you and focus on your specific jurisdiction on Massachusetts, Emily. But if we can definitely say, you know, firm-wide, we did this, you know, you're the member for Massachusetts, however we phrase it. But I think what most firms have been doing is sending us their write-up. Have any of them included photos, Alyssa? Or
yes.
Yeah, photos and videos.
Yeah, a few have sent photos and videos, which is ideal because then our media specialist Tori then can put together a more personalized image with photos or videos from your firm, which gets a bit more engagement and a bit more of an exciting post. So if you have those, it's ideal that you send them along with the write-up.
Yeah, and then what Alyssa has been taking the write-up, and we put it in a couple of different places, right? So we've got the social media post, so she'll chop it down for a social media post. We have the website where we have all of the firm activities. It's a little bit longer. And then she'll do, at the end, she'll do a recap write-up for everything that the firms have done. So send us what you've got. You know, don't worry about it being too long because we are editing those for our purposes. You know, and if we go any, you know, with crazy edits or change something, we'll come back to you. But you can send us what you've got, Emily, and then we can chop it down for what we need it for.
Perfect. And I just saw the email as well that had the link to the portal to put stuff in. So I'll just connect with Jeff and we'll get that to you.
Wonderful. And the last thing I just wanted to get feedback on, Tori actually wanted to get feedback on, she was not able to join us today, but the firm admin functions, are you guys, how have you guys been seeing that? Has it been easy for you guys to use, if those of you who are working as firm admins on the website? Or any feedback that you want to provide that we can share with our develop? Okay. Beth or Alyssa, anything else that you guys that you wanted to address with the group that we missed?
Nothing from me.
Me either.
Okay. Does anybody else in the, you know, we've got about 9 more minutes. Is there anything anybody wanted to bring up with the group, or any challenges that you're having, priorities that are interesting that you want to share?
Would love to just get a better sense of how you plan on doing this ESG group, because I have sent it to my ESG collab group, my project team, but you know, like, we struggle as a team to figure out how to go to market when it's not hard law yet in Africa. Clients are a bit patchy about it. Each industry is different. It's quite a complex beast, and I'd be interested to see how you want to look at it from a global perspective and how you planning on bringing it together to create some value.
Yeah, so you know, as we were sort of launching this group, realizing that it does indeed touch so many other practice areas, right? And it touches nearly every industry, right? Like banking and finance, technology, real estate. So I think the initial plan is to, you know, have these small group discussions next week when we launch, to see sort of where everybody's at. And then I suspect that we will have sort of these subspecial group meetings that are focused on, you know, whether it's ESG litigation or, you know, building ESG policies within, you know, your core strategy for a company. So I think that we will probably have to do it topic specific when we do start working on guides, doing, quarterly meetings, or whether it's every other month, I think that we'll have to have sort of these specialties underneath it. And then, of course, I do want to have a speed networking for the group, because even if you're not a litigator, what they have to say is interesting, because eventually, your client, for whatever they've done, will end up in litigation and end up with these lawyers. So I think that is sort of the approach that we're going to take right now, and we'll see how it evolves.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, because otherwise you just don't know where to start.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere, right? And then sort of see how it spins off. Anyone else have anything before we part ways today?
Yes, to our comment about ESG, we are now working with our practice area, like a new project, in order to offer like a new service to our clients. So we have like been working because our clients are very interested in this, in this topic, because it's about like, in our case, more environmental, but just to join with our economic topics about like what we are like facing in our jurisdictions.
Mm-hmm. And I did, yesterday, I took a look at, I went through a bunch of the firms' websites to see how they are, because a lot of firms do have, I think Arnold and Porter, Hunt and Andrews Kurth, I wrote a number of them down, Minter Ellison, PLMJ, that have these ESG as a client service, and they're really built out of teams, right? Like of teams from all the different specialties. And that's, kind of like people, when firms launched their COVID practice, so to speak, it was teams of people from the various different service areas around the firm. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll put together some notes that we took from today with the ideas that we've shared, webinars, practice areas, business development, and circulate that around. And we will also be in touch about doing something next year in Dubai. And I believe the next meeting that we have scheduled for this group is in September. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but it is in September. So I hope everyone enjoys their summer or winter, as it may be, depending on where you are.